bit rough with the mic and stuff.
Yeah. My stream has started. Okay, heads up, guys. I'm not going to be able to use the Pro mic, so the audio is going to be even worse than it's been for the first two episodes. I can't fix it. This fucking mic, it doesn't work anymore. And I don't know why. It just all of a sudden stopped fucking working. And I got so pissed after fighting it with it for 2.5 hours. I literally threw the fucker across the wall, or across the room, and then punched the fuck out of my wall wrong. And yeah, I split my knuckle open in the process. So yeah, it's just been a bad fucking morning. Yeah, ironically, my voice sounds clearer on the actual laptop mic than it does on the fucking thing. You know what? I don't care. I'm also extremely tired, but I can't afford a Monster. I'm $4 short, so I'm just gonna have to muddle through. But yeah, hello everyone. My name is DeFable, and welcome back to Buried, an interactive story. In the last episode, a lot of shit happened. We finally got to see what these interdimensional creatures are. They can bend light around them just by existing in our dimension. Their movement is so unconceivable by the human eye that it looks like they're glitching in and out of existence. Ow. Okay. But yeah, let's continue with Chapter 4. I'm also joined by Thomas. Say hello, my friend.
Hello.
Hello. So, alright, let's go over the results from Chapter 3. The blunt truth. You and 41% of players told Dennis his prognosis was grim. Yeah, I wanted to be honest with him. Slow them down. You and 35% of players sided with Amy on pulling the hydraulic door. Yeah, just figured that was the right thing to do. Who to trust? You and 69% of players gave the gun to Amy. Murder or mercy? You and 42% of players killed Marcus. Now or later? You and 68% of players conserved your bullets for later instead of shooting the creatures. Alright, on to Chapter 4. The ride up the elevator is tense. I take a series of deep breaths, doing everything I can to stay in control. That sounds like earlier. Emmy has gotten back to her feet, but her head is pressed against the elevator wall as she suppresses a series of sobs. I find myself trying to remember the way those creatures looked, but my mind seems to shudder at the effort. I have seen something that is an impossibility, a mockery of what I know is real. This fills me with a terror that dwarfs anything else I have felt since discovering the facility. I try to focus my mind on something else, and that's when I remember that I've just murdered Marcus. I killed Marcus, I say, the thought feeling like jumping into cold water. Had you ever killed anyone before? Amy asks. No. He was gonna kill me, she says. I'm sure of it. Probably. Well, thank you, she says, but her tone is unsteady and her face is unreadable. I still can't believe I did it. I mean, let's not hide how we're actually reacting to the murder. Whether or not does self-defense, we still took a human life. It's going to be traumatizing no matter what. I can't even imagine, she says. She then looks to me and asks all of that. It really happened, right? I can only nod because I can feel some of her disbelief trying to sneak into me, almost like it's contagious. So, I say, how did you end up here? She gives a nervous chuckle and shrugs. I used to work with the Pentagon. It was some pretty upper echelon stuff that I still can't discuss. I assume this place is even more upper echelon, I said. This place isn't even on the scale, she answers. My other job was a cakewalk compared to this. Then why stay, I ask. Because the money is ridiculous. I have a 13-year-old daughter already talking about Harvard. You do the math. Fair. Harvard, huh? That's ambitious. Oh, I know. She's a force of nature. Her dad ran off when she was 3, so for a long time it's been just her and me. Oh. Amy pauses before continuing softly. What if I never see... Her voice breaks off, the words too terrible to say, her eyes filled with tears. The elevator comes to a stop, the slight ding of it interrupting the moment. Amy hastily wipes her eyes, and we waste no time in getting back inside the command center. I ready the rifle, suddenly certain that there are more of those creatures waiting for us in the hallway of the second level. But the way is clear, allowing us to haul ass to the command center. Once again, I find myself staring at the screen that shows my ruined work site. Okay, Amy says, typing commands rapidly. It can't be that hard. I keep peeking over my shoulder, my senses feeling as if the monsters are sneaking up on us mere inches away. Fuck, was Marcus the only one who knew how to open the doors? I then think of Dennis and wonder how he is faring back on level 3. Is he safe? I look back to the screens and see that Amy has finally found what she is looking for. A prompt on the screen says, override of hangar doors and all level 3 locks requires cleared code. Amy types in a number with shaking fingers and the screen goes black for a moment. The moment the words "override confirmed" come up on the screen, Amy jumps up from the chair and heads out of the room. We have to be quick, she says. We have exactly 20 minutes to open those hangar doors. Then let's get moving. No time to ask questions, just fucking go. I follow her out of the command center and bound back down the hallway towards the same elevator that brought us here. Amy punches the elevator button and the doors slide open. We're taking the same elevator back to the biochem room, I ask. Those creatures are still down there. It's the only way back down, she says. The other way is blocked by those hydraulic doors we pulled. Hopefully the creatures left. Hopefully. Neither of us say anything else as we share a look of immense dread. We step back into the elevator and head back down to the biochem room on level 3. Alright. So I think by killing Marcus we fucked up. But we'll see. His corpse is still going to be there. As the elevator doors open, we peer out looking to see if the creatures are still in the area, but it's all clear. When Amy looks to me, her eyes are clear and strong. Marcus wasn't entirely wrong, Amy says as we start walking back towards the hangar doors. About what? I ask. About how I am partially to blame for this. Why would you be to blame? Some of the things we do here, it's scary. We should have known that one day something like this would happen. You really should have, but at the same time, it's done and over with. Everyone here with the knowledge of what goes on in level 3 is to blame, she says. It's a highly advanced research facility, I said, doing amazing but risky stuff. So yeah, you're partially to blame by just working here, but I can understand the dedication. So why don't you tell me more about what does go on in level 3, I ask. Are you familiar with the Large Hadron Collider over in Switzerland? I've heard the phrase, but that's about it, I say. It's a powerful particle accelerator, she explains. Right now they're using it to try and create what's called dark matter. Of course. It's theorized that this dark matter actually makes up the majority of the universe. That is true, actually, but parts of the universe very different from ours. My guess is the people at the LHC will probably create their first dark matter particle in about 2018, or 2019. Here in this facility, we were able to create one almost 10 years ago. It was the key to our research. What does this matter do? Obviously, it has something to do with the things. We use dark matter to assist with instantaneous transfer of an object. But we have yet to perfect it or understand why it works. So you're saying it lets you gain access to different dimensions? I ask. That's the theory, she says. During the point-to-point transfer, the subjects are gone for about 3 to 6 seconds. There's no way to see or measure their presence, but they exist somewhere from what we can tell. They exist in a kind of void. Have you done this with people? It's more important than describing the void. We have sent human subjects through. Almost all of them have returned successfully. I make an involuntary grimace. Almost? There was one man, Dr. Kana, who didn't return. We don't know where. She trails off, taking a moment to collect herself. Sorry, I asked. I say, feeling my mind starts to bend inward again. As we continue to walk between the silos, we walk past the area where we left Marcus's body. I barely even glance at his body, still unable to believe that I was responsible for killing him. I also don't want to look at additional damage the monsters caused. A pool of blood and mangled clothes are all I see through the corner of my eye. I realize that we are walking very close together between the silos, perhaps trying to create the illusion of safety. We reach the exit connecting to the hangar doors where Dennis hopefully still is. My guts clench and my heart hammers in my chest as we open the door and walk through. I lift the rifle, but at first it seems that there is nothing waiting for us. And that's when I see the glowing, hulking shape to my left, closing in fast. Fuck! One of those creatures. Is Dennis here then? Or did they get him? The creature is about 10 feet away and coming in quickly, so I do the first thing that comes to mind. I drop to the ground, making myself a smaller target, and raise the rifle. I'm not sure if I should just unload on the bastard or try to be choosy with my shots and weaken it, or at least slow it down. Shoot to kill. The beast is less than a foot away from when I start firing. From me when I start firing rapidly. I'm not sure which is louder, the gunshot or the high-pitched screeching as the creature staggers. With that, it seems to turn and jerk away, parts of it appearing and disappearing every few feet. It moves down the hall and out of sight. Apparently, even several rounds of bullets are only enough to slow these things down. I look quickly around for others, but there is only Amy. She looks at where the monster went with wide eyes. Her face is pale, and I wonder if, like me, she is able to feel her mind trying to retreat. Get moving. Snap Robin, you guys gotta move. Come on, I say. Let's find Dennis and get through these hangar doors. Amy glances at her watch and nods. We're already down to 6 minutes. We turn towards the hangar doors, and I'm a little disgusted with myself because the bloody scene that so shocked me before now seems mild. You okay? Amy goes to work on the computer console on the side of the doors. She starts punching in keys before saying, "This is going to take some time." "I thought you already unlocked it," I ask. "I did," she says, "but for this door there's still security permissions I need to hack. Marcus would have known how to do this." She trails off and I decide to let her work. Suddenly something slams into me. I feel my feet leave the floor and I am literally thrown across the concrete. I look up in time to see one of the creatures. It's apparently in no hurry to attack me again, focusing on Amy instead. She's not armed. I need to come up with a plan to get this thing away from her so she can focus on getting the door open. It raises one of its flickering appendages, making me certain that part of its makeup is pure light and energy. I could easily take a shot with my rifle, but my mind again goes to how much remaining ammo I have. So are these things made of plasma? The only other thing I can think of is to get it to chase me and lead it away from this room somewhere. Distract the monster, run. Distract the monster and run. "Hey!" I yell. "Right here! Come get me! I'm the one that shot your buddy!" It turns to me and I am again faced with staring at something that has no business in this world, in this reality. Its body gives off a sort of glow around the central part, a bulbous core that is branched off into 2 humps, very much like a spider. Again, I sense that this visual information is not accurate, but it's the best way my simple mind can do to make sense of this impossible creature. It starts lurching towards me and lets out a shriek of agony that makes my ears feel like they'll explode. Now that I'm sure it's coming after me, I take off running and head to another hallway we haven't been down. I find myself in an industrial-looking area and am pleased to find that the monster has followed me through. Ooh, so we're getting chased by one of these things now. The room seems to be an assortment of old pipes and tanks. I assume some of them run further down to other areas of the facility. With the creature on my tail, I dash into the maze of metal, hoping to lose it. It's definitely having a harder time squeezing through than I am, and that slows it down. Of course, the room's not a cage of any kind. The thing is still heading towards me, shredding through the pipes as it rages. I notice that sometimes it is breaking the steel girders, but other times it seems like it's somehow merging or changing them. So it's warping reality around it. Pipes that were separate are now connected together in a way that makes my head hurt. I finally get a good amount of distance between myself and the creature. I think it's lost my trail. I need to get back to those hangar doors. There's not much time before they close shut. But if I make a sound, that creature could be on my heels again. No, we gotta run as fast as you can. We've only got 20 minutes to get through those doors. There's no time, I think to myself. I have to get moving. Exactly. With no care of staying silent, I twist myself through some more pipes and make my way back towards the door I entered through. Immediately, the creature picks up on this and turns towards me. But I don't even look back. I slide through this rusted obstacle course and sprint back to the hangar doors. Oh, please make it in time. I burst back into the large room and see Amy still working on the computer terminal by the hangar doors. "You okay?" I ask Amy. I can clearly see her battling for control of her faculties. Steel determination wins out and she gives a grim nod. "Any sign of where Dennis went?" I ask, hoping she hasn't noticed his body somewhere. "No," she replies. It's then that I realize that I have no idea how many rounds I have remaining in the rifle. This isn't a model I'm familiar with. Outside of some deer hunting, I'm not much of an expert on firearms. Still, I am able to locate the chamber easily and see that there are four rounds left. Not great, but it could be worse. "How are we on time?" I ask her. 4 minutes. I'm going as fast as I can. I was worried about how long it would take you to lose that thing. "Well," I say, I decided it was better to get back quickly than to... At that moment, the creature screams on the other side of the door. He'll be in here at any second. Amy does her best to focus on the keyboard, but there is still no sign of Dennis. Before I have time to look around, a screeching sound erupts from the other end of the room. I bring the rifle up in a shooter's stance and turn around. With the hangar doors right behind me, no signs of Dennis, and a closing window of time, I have to be confident. Yet, when 2 monsters come around the corner, my body wants to shut down. The appendages seem to jump in time and space, reaching out for a split second independent of the body and then disappearing back to where they came from. It turns and screeches at me, its glowing tentacles snaking out of its body. My knees tremble uncontrollably. "Behind me!" Amy shrieks. I feel myself losing control, my mind sliding into the abyss of insanity. I pull myself back from the brink. I've got to stay in control. "Turn away or shoot them." If we've only got 4 shells left. Fuck. Because if you turn away, you're gonna get grabbed. And that's game over. So, I guess we're gonna shoot him. I step away from Amy and the hangar doors and towards the monster, ready to defend her. I ready my rifle, but the creature wastes no time. It makes that jerky motion towards me, and there's a sharp pain in my chest as it collides with me. Fuck. Or through me. It's hard to tell. My instinct is to try to grapple or hold this thing down, but then I realize I don't even know if that will work. Try to grab the creature, I guess? If you're not trying to waste ammo, I try to grapple with the creature, but it feels very different from my struggle with Marcus earlier. It's not easily grabbed. My fingers slide through parts of it, some parts like a ghost, others like a jellyfish. Touching it burns my hands, but only slightly. When I realize I can't grip it, I quickly spring away and turn to face it. With a scream of defiance, I raise the rifle and put a round in its core. The shot lands dead center, and the light inside of it flickers almost violently. It falls back against the wall, issuing a hiss of its telltale static noise. It then jerks away and retreats, at least for now. Another terror appears as if out of nowhere, screaming at me with its high-pitched whine. It bounds forward, charging in its strange, spastic way. I aim the rifle, intending to take this one in the core, too. I take several shots, but it's still coming at me. As it slams into me, I realize that I have only one bullet left. On contact, the wind is knocked out of my lungs and the back of my head strikes the floor. But neither of these things is as alarming as the fact that the beast is on top of me. Its exterior is like a seashell that has been pounded by the surf for so long that it has lost all edges and ridges. But the grip it tries to capture me with is pure violence. I feel those light-soaked appendages start to wrap around me. I raise the rifle knowing I still have one shot left. The weight of the monster is erratic. One moment I feel weightless, another I feel like I'm going to be crushed. I push upwards with the rifle to aim, but it is overpowering me. I'm not sure I'd be able to get an effective shot off. I see the core of its body, a spider-like shape, connected to the rest of it by thin white strings of tissue. I know I'll be dead within seconds unless I can manage a shot, but I don't know where to aim. This thing has already survived for so long. Shoot for the center, obviously. That core seems to be its weakness. The creature is seconds away from tearing into my shoulder. I have to stop it now. I grunt as I try to angle the rifle in the direction of the beast's formless core. The appendages begin tugging down the barrel, and it's at that moment I pull the trigger, unleashing my final shot. Thank God I saved this bullet earlier. The shot aggravates it enough to win me some breathing room. I've saved my shoulder, but this thing's still alive and kicking. But then I see the creature extend its tentacles in a violent whip-like motion away from me while it makes that static screeching sound. The creature disappears into thin air and reappears a few feet from me, retreating. With a shudder and a cry of desperation, I get to my feet just in time to see the monster head in the direction of the biochem room. Amy looks over at me from her terminal at the hangar doors, looking petrified. I manage to help myself up when I see another figure nearing us. But to my relief, I realize it's a human figure. Dennis, with a gun. Oh, thank God. You okay, boss? He asks, but his eyes aren't on me. They are looking to the creature, trying to understand exactly what he's just seen. Get in line. About 15 minutes ago, I heard the door to that maintenance room unlock, Dennis says, pointing to the room I tried to bust my way into earlier. Ah, Amy says. When I did the override up in the command center and locked all small doors down here, including that maintenance room. I went inside there and hid, Dennis continues, and while I was waiting for you to come back, I found a massive trunk. There were a few guns in it, so I grabbed this one, he says, patting his shotgun. I'm glad you're safe, Dennis. I'm glad you found some weapons. No, I'm glad he's safe. Thanks, boss, he says. Me too. Great, now, how is that door coming along, I ask Amy. She makes a few final key presses and says, done! The doors open with the noise of hydraulics and a whoosh of air. Dennis, Amy, and I climb up and head through the doors, moving on nothing more than adrenaline. I see her look longingly at the maintenance room Dennis took the shotgun from. You get into the hangar, Dennis says. I'll get some more firepower. Satisfied with the plan, Amy heads through the door. We scramble inside, finally inside the hangar. Dennis approaches from behind, holding several guns and looking like a kid who grabbed an armful of Halloween candy. Amy reaches out for a 9mm with one hand. Dennis turns to me and holds out a shotgun and a handgun for me to choose. Both look deadly. The shotgun looks more powerful, but the handgun will probably be more precise. I'm taking the shotgun. Because if we could blast these things with a single shot to the core, then that might be more efficient. I take the shotgun, surprised at how heavy it feels, but also invigorated by its weight. There are more creatures coming, as many as a dozen. They are floating down the hall quickly, their tentacles slithering. The way their light seems to mingle together is almost beautiful. Close the door, I yell at Amy. She dashes to another terminal mounted on the inside of the hangar doors and tries desperately to close them. It's not working, she says with tears in her eyes. This terminal is disabled. Dennis looks through the open doors, readying himself to shoot the first monster that nears us. Ooh, typo. Should we try to slow a few down or just run for it, he asks, his gun at the ready. Fucking fire away! I pull up my shotgun and fire in the creature's general direction, no need to be picky. Dennis fires a shot into the approaching swarm and they scatter instantaneously. Just to give him something to think about, he says smugly. With that, we turn around and sprint out and onto the hangar floor. Holy shit. How many of these fucking things are there? Because it started off as like 3, right? Now we're fighting a dozen. The room is enormous, so large that to call it a room seems silly. A large concrete floor stretches out below an expansive lofted ceiling. The area is mostly empty, except for one side which has rows and rows of metal barrels. Back on the far wall is a lit area that seems to expose more rooms, labs, and machinery. Also in the rear of the hangar I can see some kind of chamber or control center. Dennis and I follow Amy across the hangar floor. Behind us, a series of rough slithering sounds tells us that the creatures have made their way into the hangar. From somewhere up ahead, a loud buzzing noise sounds out. It reminds me of the slight buzzing noise I'd heard in the forest, the noise that got me into all of this trouble in the first place. I look ahead and see that in the far back of the hangar, a bright red light is flashing. There's a small hatch or door below the light. The hatch is open and I can see a shape inside it. I can barely make out the figure of a man standing there holding an industrial microphone, and as soon as I see him, I hear his huge amplified voice. It blares down over an intercom system and he sounds pissed. I don't know who the hell you are, he says, but this is a government facility on lockdown. There are protocols to— Shit! I assume the curse coincides with the exact moment he sees the creatures. They're making their way through the hangar doors. They are about 20 feet between us and the creatures. Damn it. I act instinctively, squeezing off 2 shots with the shotgun. The first spray is low, hitting the floor and causing a power of sparks, but the second shot causes one monster to jerk backwards. It's a good thing that a shotgun is quite forgiving. Amy and Dennis take the cue and start firing as well. The floor becomes littered with the swirling white fluid from the wounded creatures' bodies, but they are not slowing down. The alarm keeps shrieking behind us, and when I turn to see if anything has changed back there, I trip over my feet. I hit the ground hard, and in an almost comic fashion slide several feet across the floor. From the ground, I see that we have managed to turn back 4 of them, but I also see that my estimate of a dozen is off. There are at least 20 of them. They're sick, dim light, sinister, and gloomy. Their appendages seem to bind together as they come forward. My only hope of survival is that the man in the far doorway has somehow shut that hangar door. His voice comes blaring over the intercom again, broken by the booming noise of the gunfire that we are laying down. Run! Here! Towards the isolation chamber! I'm not sure how much time we have. I realize that I can sprint ahead of Amy and Dennis, or I can hang back and give them cover. Keep shooting. Dennis is critically injured. We need to get him inside first. Go inside where that guy is, I say. I'll make sure we don't have any of those things running our tails. I'll hold him back for a while. I know it sounds macho, but it also feels like the right thing to do. I have to at least try to give us some kind of chance for escape. So as Amy and Dennis run through the doors, I blast at the next thing that I see moving. All I get for my troubles is that static-like hiss and a high-pitched whistling noise. I'm able to beat them back again, forcing them to scatter. Each flicker of light is a small victory. If nothing else, I'm buying Amy and Dennis time. When I'm certain there's nothing more I can do, I turn and run. I hustle quickly, catching up to Amy and Dennis, who stop and turn to provide me with cover fire. There, Amy says, pointing to the small door where the man was standing earlier. The swarm is less than 15 feet away now, so furious that they are pushing through one another to get to us. I fire, still not quite used to the kick of the shotgun. I aim for the core of one, but the shot hits low. Still, it knocks the bastard back, giving me time to readjust. We are in the middle of the hangar floor now, with the isolation chamber ahead and the monsters behind. Beside me, Dennis also fires. The kick of the gun jolts him, probably a result of him being weakened from the blood loss. His shot lands true, though, causing a jerking stumble and a flickering of its light. We're almost in, Amy yells as we get close to the door. We hope will save us. Tell Dennis and Amy to go in first. Dash inside. All of us need to get in there. I waste no time heading for the room. I basically leap towards the door, already feeling a little more secure. I nearly shout for joy when I reach the frame. But then, I feel something hot seep into my back. Roger! Dennis yells. The pain in my back is so immense that I barely notice the fact that I am being lifted from the floor. I look down and see that one of the creatures is using its flowing arms to grab me by my waist, its tentacles wrapping around me. It lifts me into the air as if presenting me as a trophy to its friends. I can't angle the shotgun to fire off a round, so I bring the stock of it down on the monster's translucent smooth body. It's like striking at fog. My attack has very little effect. As it continues to hoist me up, screeching its approval, Dennis comes out of the room and fires off a shot. The bullet catches the monster on the underside of its core, sending it backwards and causing it to freeze for a moment. It releases me and I hit the ground, dropping my gun and again finding myself unable to breathe. I feel slightly dizzy, but that fades when I see Dennis is still standing outside of the door. He's firing into the beast like a madman, doesn't see the one to his left coming in along the edge of the wall. Push him out of the way, the fuck you mean? I try to dash towards Dennis to push him out of the way, but there's not enough time. Fuck! The creature jerks out of existence and reappears right behind him. By the time Dennis turns and sees the creature coming, it has already drawn several of its appendages back to strike. Dennis tries to release his gun, but it's knocked away by one of the tentacles. The second tentacle strikes and Dennis is spun around and thrown off balance by the attack. Dennis catches himself before falling. A third tentacle wraps around Dennis's forearm and I can see it squeeze, tightening instantly. Oof. The tip of the appendage passes clean through his hand, its blood-soaked tip poking out through his palm. Dennis's face grimaces with pain as he tries to wrench his arm free, but the creature's tentacle has his hand speared like a nail through wood. In a moment of dark clarity, I realize that I can free him with a clean shot at the monster's tentacle. But it will likely mean blowing Dennis's hand off. Dennis! I yell over at the creature's high-pitched static sound. Can you get free? I have a shot, maybe. No! Dennis gasps with the creature, tosses him around by his hand like a puppet. Don't shoot! I can get free. I can't tell if he's right, but the other monsters are starting to encircle him. I need to act fast. Fucking wait for Dennis to get away. If he thinks he can do it, I trust him. Dennis is fighting hard, doing everything he can to bring the gun around with his good hand. He's screaming as he tries to tear his hand away, screaming in both fury and desperation. This only seems to anger the creature, which then swats Dennis with another one of its tentacles, opening a deep gash across his cheek. His skin peels back and his eyes go wide with shock. The creature drops into the ground as if playing with him, and then the floor and space around Dennis seems to warp. The bottom quarter of his body seems to disappear before I realize it's been merged with the floor. Fuck! And at that moment, I know it's over. 3 others swarm him, surrounding what remains of his fallen body. I don't even hear Dennis scream. There's just a frenzy of the crackling, sickening wail sound. After that, there is nothing else. Fuck, they got Dennis. Fury, sorrow, and absolute rage surge through my heart. I grab my gun as the remaining beasts come towards me. They'll kill me, but I don't care. This is war as far as I'm concerned. This is... Amy grabs me from behind and pulls me hard inside. I try fighting her off, but she's persistent, and part of my mind knows she's right. Don't be an idiot, she yells to me. She practically throws me through the doorway. As I fall, I hear her fire off 2 shots before slamming the door closed behind her. I watch blearily as she punches a few buttons on a control pad on the wall. This is followed by a metallic click as the door locks. We are safe in the chamber, but Dennis is gone. Fuck! Damn it! I should have shot off his hand. Fuck. We are now inside a large reinforced chamber of sorts, almost like the inside of a submarine. Near us is the door, shut tight. Far away from us along the back wall are all sorts of controls and monitors. It seems clear that this metal door is impenetrable, at least to them. I'm fairly sure that they aren't getting in. Dennis, I say. I'm sorry, Amy says, and I'm sorry for pulling you back, but you were walking to your death out there. I know, I say, but that doesn't make it any easier. I couldn't quite see, but it looked like you may have had a shot. Why didn't you take it? Amy asked. He told me not to shoot. Roger, Amy says. My God, I'm sorry. He's dead, I say, hoping that speaking with the words will help me to understand what just happened. I came through all of this to try and save him, and he's dead. How did this happen? Why did I listen to him? Out of nowhere, an image of Dennis pumping his fist after winning a game of pool pops into my head. I can't reconcile that happy image with what I just saw. I feel myself zoning out, just wanting to just give up, but I'm stubborn, and the fact that Dennis is dead is a cruel motivator. I have to get out of here, I say. What I don't say is that I have to get out of here so all of this trouble will have been worth something. We are interrupted by a man's voice booming behind us. Just what in the hell do you think you're doing? The man roars. He's an older man who seems to exude power and authority, but he also looks tired and scared. I assume this is Barksdale. He walks over to us from the back recess of the chamber. We didn't have a choice, Amy responds. We had to. Did you override the locks on the hangar doors? Barksdale demands. Yes, I did, but we had to. Do you have any idea what you could have done? Amy doesn't answer right away. She is furious, but she is also scared and visibly exhausted. Who is this? I addressed my question to Amy, preferring to get my info from her rather than whoever this is. The man doesn't break eye contact with Amy. Colonel Barksdale! He runs the place, she says, annoyed. Look, Barksdale, she says, you can berate me and lecture me all you want when this mess is over. But right now, I have a wounded civilian here, and as you can see, several entities trying to get into this room. So if you could actually do something instead of sitting on your throne and yelling at me, that would be great. I'm impressed by her guts and wonder if there's some sort of beef between the two of them. Oh, definitely. Surely working in a place like this could cause some stress and tension between people. As we wait, I notice a small peephole in the door. I go to it and look out to the things. They're still looking for a way in, but finding no success. I wonder if they can sense or somehow see me through the door. Flip them the bird. They killed Dennis. It's the least we can do. Can't help myself. I hold up my middle finger to one and smile defiantly. I get a blast of high-pitched sound in response. You'll be reprimanded for speaking to me in such a way, Barksdale says to Amy. Reprimand me all you want. I'd like to survive this first. Cover your ears, Barksdale shouts, walking away towards the far end of the room. Stay put until you hear back from me. Thank you, Amy says with fire in her voice. She then turns to me and says, better do what the man says. Cover ears. I clap my hands over my ears just in time to protect my hearing from a deafening blast. I can still feel my blood rushing out and wonder if this is what Dennis felt like at the beginning of his end. Before the sorrow of losing Dennis can consume me, something slaps against the wall of the room with a tremendous force. I assume this is just another of the monsters slithering along at the wall, but when I turn back towards the door, I hear something surprising. More bursts of a loud explosive noise start ringing out. Looking through the peephole again, I see the core of one of the beasts explode. It vanishes in a puff of smoke and clear liquid. Looking to my left, I see Barksdale in a shooting stance at the far side of the room. He's firing through a small slit in the wall. He's using some high-powered weapon, the likes of which I've never seen. I see a slight movement as the gun kicks, accompanied by a flicker of white light. Immediately, another monster is down, its tentacles flailing around aimlessly as most of its core is torn through. I instantly feel gratitude and an immense satisfaction in knowing that they are being picked off in such a way. Sit down and rest. I slide down against the door and simply wait, listening to the occasional patter of what I assume is their blood on the wall. I don't know how much time passes, maybe 5 seconds, 5 minutes? And I don't care, it feels nice to lay down. When the firing is over, I barely even notice it. Soon after, Barksdale walks back over to our side of the room. They're all gone, Barksdale says, and I have resealed the hangar doors. How'd you kill them like that, I ask. Classified weapons that, quite frankly, you have no business being near. Amy gets to her feet and returns to the panel on the wall. Thanks. How badly is the civilian hurt? Barksdale asks Amy, as if I'm not good enough for him to speak to. A nasty cut, Amy answers. If he gets some quick attention, he'll be okay. Okay, I'll have Strickland get a med kit. Strickland survived? Amy asks, sounding cheerful. Yes, and until you and your friend showed up, I thought we were the only ones. Hang tight, she's on her way. With that said, he retreats away to the back of the room as if he can't stand to be around us. Amy approaches me and looks me over. You're in good hands. Strickland will be able to fix you up. Is she a doctor or something? Sort of. She's also a physicist, but oddly enough, she spent time as a trauma nurse in the army. Is Strickland a friend of yours, I ask? Amy chuckles. Yeah, we've known each other for a while. The only women in a sea of overachieving men. Yeah, sounds about right, unfortunately. Barksdale sounds like a prick. He doesn't sound like it. He is one. That's because he is, Amy says. But he runs this place, so he sort of has the right. Yeah, Washington or a facility buried under the woods of Kentucky. Gender roles stay the same, she says, rolling her eyes. Within a few seconds, the door behind us opens and a woman appears from back, further in the chamber. She enters the room with what looks like a small suitcase. She is dressed in a very basic and drab military getup, complete with a holstered sidearm. My name is Connie Strickland, she says, getting straight to the point. I can patch you up pretty good, but it's going to hurt. I nod, honestly not caring how much it hurts. My God, I just want to get out of here to get home. Sit down, let's see if we can get your shirt off, Strickland says. I sit down slowly and start unbuttoning my shirt. She has to help me slip it off of my shoulders, but we manage. How bad is it, I ask. Bad, she said. It almost looks like a burn, but I've seen much worse. I might as well talk to Strickland, if only to distract from the pain. What's your story? Strickland rolls her eyes as she gathers up a needle and some thread. I was always into fringe science. I started in labs where these eccentric Russian scientists were being funded by the US to work on combining DNA types. I sort of became obsessed with perfecting human physiology while I was a trauma nurse in the army. You were a mad scientist then. I say. I get that a lot, but no, not compared to the stuff we do here. I don't even want to know. I think at this point he's overloaded with information. You sound like my mother, Strickland says. She wants to make sure I'm safe and cared for. She knows my job is sort of dangerous, but of course I can't tell her any details, so she just worries. Any other family? I ask. No, she says as she works on me. I'm a workaholic. No husband, no kids. It's always been just been my job. And until about a month ago, I loved it. What happened a month ago? That's when the teams here stumbled onto what they thought was a big discovery. Amy says, answering for Strickland. Yeah, Strickland says, that big discovery resulted in 20-hour work days. I've been sleeping in my office for about a week now. Sounds like an animator in Japan. When you guys ran in here, she says, I was horrified. Those barrels outside, I'm not sure if you saw them. Well, if you'd shot them, it could have been bad. Why, I ask. The gray ones are filled with an experimental fuel that is highly flammable. The yellow ones contain liquid nitrogen. What? I ask, just laying around? Well, this area is the safest in the building, the most secure. Well, it used to be, anyway. And take this, she says, handing me 4 pills, painkillers. They won't work immediately, but they'll dull the worst of what you're feeling. Are these the best idea, I ask? Won't they make me dizzy or out of sorts or something? All I get in response is an annoyed and determined look. Take the painkillers. I draw a swallow of the pills as she starts working on me. She slathers the wound with some sort of liquid that stings like crazy, and I gasp. Probably alcohol. Grin and bear it. Ready to stab me yet? Strickland asks. I'm fine, I hiss. I wince as she dabs at my eye, swollen from where Marcus kicked me. I grit my teeth in pain and try to catch my breath. The anticipation is the worst part. I'm relieved to find that it doesn't hurt as much as I feared. It's no picnic for sure, but compared to the fire-like pain in my wound, it's unbearable. It's bearable. So you and Barclay are the only survivors, Amy asks? It seems that way. Those that didn't disappear into thin air were killed by those things, Strickland says, nodding to the secured door. Jesus Christ. So the entire... Remember, there was... If I remember quickly, there was 26 employees here, and then there were 5 people outside the facility that knew its existence. So 24 employees were killed by these things. Not that I've seen, Strickland says. If anyone else did make it, they're trapped out there with those things. I'm glad to see you. Where were you when it happened, Amy asks. I was in the micro lab on level 2, Strickland replies. Park and O'Brien were in there with me, and they just disappeared, I guess. It looked like they were being stretched, distorted, and then there was a ball of white light and they were gone. The ball of light just annihilated everything it touched. Would it leave a perfectly round hole, I ask? A light bulb turning on in my head? We saw some of those up at the logging site. That was probably the same phenomenon, Strickland replies. Amy looks like a child afraid to ask an adult for something. Finally, she asks, where did they go? We don't know, Strickland says. It could be an infinite number of different dimensions, or even some dimensions that merge and mix together. It could also be a place that exists between dimensions. Barksdale calls it the Void. So, this is the second time we've heard we've seen mention of this place called the Void in this. And I'm wondering if that's going to come up later. I call it dead. No, she says. We keep tabs on the heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing of all the rats and human test subjects. Wherever they go for that time, they are still very much alive. I wince through the rest of Strickland's stitching, feeling the tug of my skin, but thankfully no more flowing blood. Also, those white orbs sound like portals by how they act, so apparently they touch someone and then they teleport them to a different dimension. Finally, Strickland says, you're good to go. I slide my shirt back on, aware of the thick pad of gauze that Strickland applied to my shoulder. So have you and Barstow been able to contain all those creatures? Amy asks. Strickland appears shocked, clearly not the reaction Amy was expecting. Contain? Are you nuts? Do you not know what's happening? Amy's eyes widen in fearful confusion. What do you mean? What's happening other than the initial experiment failure? The anomalies are becoming more numerous and further from the source, Strickland says. The casual humor in her voice is now gone. Oh, fuck. So they're multiplying. That would explain why we thought we saw 12 before, but there was actually 20. Because they really are expanding. From the location of the original experiment, she says, the experiment caused the first doorway to open, but it set off a chain reaction there, gaining momentum along geodesics emanating from the facility. It's these pockets of exotic matter and negative energy that are letting those things in. What the hell does that mean, I ask? It means, Amy chimes in, that those doorways and monsters are starting to appear all over the facility, maybe even the surface. Not yet, luckily, Strickland says, but the doorways will start appearing on the surface, and it won't stop there. The anomaly's reach could extend infinitely as far as we know. Those entities will appear on the surface in other states, other countries. Holy shit, I say. You mean the world is going to be overrun? The horror of the past few years has made me ready to believe anything, but this is almost too much. Unfortunately, yes, Strickland says. My God, Amy says, stepping away. Isn't there anything we can do? There is a last resort, Strickland says, her eyes darting over to Barksdale at the back of the room. There's an emergency failsafe switch. What? Amy says. I'd never heard of that before. Where? You weren't cleared for it, Strickland replies. And that switch, Amy says, is a way to stop this? Yes, Strickland says, seeming uneasy with the conversation. What does the switch do? The switch is our eraser, she says. It destroys the entire facility and terminates any systems or experiments that are being conducted. It's also an emergency shutdown for interdimensional travel. It puts an event horizon around the facility, so a black hole. What the hell is that? I ask, incredulous. It's the perimeter of a black hole, she replies. The boundary inside which nothing can escape, not even light. But there's two problems with hitting the switch. So the first problem is we'd all be killed, sucked into a black hole before we'd have time to evacuate. The second reason, Strickland whispers, suddenly quiet, is that Barksdale won't allow it. What? Amy guessed. Why not? He wants to allow those things to flood the surface? Thousands, millions will die. Strickland puts her hand up, silencing Amy. They both peer over to the far side of the room where Barksdale has his back turned. I know. He says he doesn't care. He says he'll be happy to be rid of the oversight, so he can continue his work. The oversight, Amy almost screams, regaining control over her voice when Strickland gives her another look of warning. You mean our government? I ask. He's aware this could disrupt, even topple our government, and he doesn't care? Strickland sighs. Barksdale is, well, he's off the range right now. He's gone rogue. And he's armed. This comment makes me look towards the shotgun I brought in with me. I'd nearly forgotten it in the last few moments. While Barksdale has his back turned to us, I take it in my hands and slide it behind me. Just in time, too, as Barksdale walks over from the back of the room to our side of the chamber. He gives Strickland a suspicious look before speaking to her. Is the civilian going to survive? He asks. Yes, he's stitched up and good to go, Strickland replies. That's great news, Barksdale says. I'm sitting right here, I say sarcastically. You can actually speak to me, you know. Amy, it's quite nice to see that you have survived, he says. Were there any others? The aloof way this asshole is talking to us is getting under my skin. A guy named Marcus that works on the first level from IT, Amy says. That's all I know for sure. Marcus Papscott, Barksdale says. Where is he? He was killed by those things. We don't want to give Barksdale a reason. I try not to let my eyes shift. I try not to let my eyes shift and give away my lie. Oh, Barksdale says, I see. Barksdale seems to think about something, then looks directly at me. You're with the logging crew, aren't you? Remind me, how did you get in here again? Through a building on the surface. We were searching for our crew. Ah, makes sense. The close for the entrance shed are tied to a primary source, Barksdale says. And we lost primary power just before the experiment failed. Cloak, I ask. Yes, Strickland says. The shed you entered is usually not visible to the naked eye. Depending on the power sources that were damaged, Barksdale continues, it could have also shut down the locking systems before backups kicked in. Hence how we were able to get in the facility. Everything is starting to make sense now. From the very start, it seemed peculiar that we'd so easily been able to walk into a place like this. I'm more curious about the experiment failing. Your crew hit one of our main power lines. We aren't sure exactly how, but we know that's what did it. You're trying to blame all of this on me? I roar. The timing was unfortunate, Barksdale says. Where's the rest of our crew? Your crew, Barksdale asks. Frank and Joe, they're gone. Gone where? I ask, my voice trembling. Hearing him speak the names of my crew enrages me. They were annihilated by antimatter pockets created during the failure, a bright ball of light in the aftermath. All you'd see would be a round hole in the ground. Barksdale says this like he's sharing yesterday's sports scores. I let my face crumble into my hands. I had suspected this. All this time and they were already dead. So, Amy asks, what do we do now? Now, it's time to continue our work, Barksdale says calmly, turning away to the instruments on the near wall. Keep quiet. Don't incite him. He's got a fucking weapon. This guy sounds like a complete lunatic, but he's a lunatic that's accustomed to power and armed with some type of advanced weaponry. So I keep my intentions unspoken, assuming Barksdale is used to going unchallenged by people he considers beneath him. He certainly seems like that type. I want to continue my work, Barksdale muses. Other researchers will eventually discover what we have, sure.
but I want it to be me. This is my laboratory. These are my experiments. The work I've led here will earn me my place in history, and quite frankly, I don't need to explain it to you. Up on the surface, they'll struggle to defend themselves, and since they won't know what they're dealing with, I have the necessary weapons. After a few months, who knows? Maybe I'll decide the world is ready for me to help them, and we'll go from there. He turns his back to us, he says this, walking to the far side of the chambers, like we're just some kind of distraction. Amy takes this opportunity to whisper to us. We need to hit that switch, she says. It's the only option. What he's saying is murder, treason, genocide. She looks over to Strickland for support, trailing off. But Strickland looks at the ground, clearly torn. She won't look anyone in the eye and makes an effort not to look at Barksdale. He seems distracted with whatever instruments he's studying on the far side of the room. The dreamlike quality I experienced earlier is wearing off. Painkillers seem to be losing their edge. Strickland finally whispers a response. Even if we decide that we want to hit that switch, Barksdale won't allow us. To hell with him. Where's the switch located? Amy asks. There's an elevator out in the hangar, Strickland says. Take it to the basement. The switch is at the end of a long tunnel. But Strickland never finishes. Two things happen at once as she speaks. Her mouth stopping mid-sentence. First, a loud booming noise rings out, and then the top of her head seems to explode. Amy screams out in surprise, and I jump back in shock. As Strickland's body collapses behind me, holy fuck, he shot her. Behind her fallen body, Barksdale is holding his experimental rifle, and now he's pointing it at us. What the fuck? He shot her! Oh my god. I wonder if Barksdale is even crazier than Marcus. He probably is. He just shot a woman that worked for him to keep her quiet. Surely won't have an issue with killing me. Now, Barksdale yells, no more whispering, no more secrets. You two will stay in here. And get away from that door. If anyone whispers one more thing, I'll blow your heads off. My mind is racing to figure out a way to get through the secured door and into the hangar. Beyond that, of course, there was the failsafe switch. Make a distraction. Try my best to be a good actor as I wobble on my feet a bit. I stop, start forward again, and then wobble some more. Amy is apparently catching on because she is at my side in the second. She looks over to Barksdale and says, he's lost a lot of blood. Let me check his wounds really quick. After he dared to talk to me like that, he's been through a lot, she argues. He's clearly delusional. You can check him back here, Barksdale says. You have 30 seconds to get away from that door. I will. I stretch on my acting skills and actually stumble to a knee. I make a show of trying to get to my feet and stand still for a moment. I'm okay, I say. I'm okay. As quickly as I can, I raise my gun and fire. I don't even take aim. I just fire in Barksdale's general direction. Barksdale takes off running as my shot misses wide. He runs for cover to the back of the room. That's all we need. Amy also fires a shot to keep him under cover as we head for the door. Amy pushes a button and the door swings open. Barksdale will be on us in a second, so we dash out into the hangar, ready to defend ourselves. Fucking hell. Amy and I run as fast as we can through the rows of barrels. Barksdale comes charging out of the chamber almost immediately. As he steps onto the hangar floor, he starts shooting. Each shot sends a jolt of fear through me as I wait for a bullet to end my life. We need to get to the elevator on the far side of the room, Amy tells me. It leads down below to the switch. Let's sprint for the elevator. Let's fend off Barksdale first. Fucking shoot. Kill Barksdale. We both lean out from the cover of the barrels and take several shots at Barksdale. He steps back in the isolation chamber gives me a sense of victory. Then I realize he may just be reloading whatever high-powered weapon he has. We need to move, I say. Agreed, Amy says. We both take off in a full sprint for the other side of the hangar. Somehow I make it through the rows of barrels and get to the elevator's entrance. I turn back to allow me to enter first, but she isn't there. I look back to the barrels and see that she has fallen about halfway down the row. She doesn't appear to be hurt, but she is paralyzed with fear, sitting motionless as Barksdale peppers the area with gunfire. Fuck. Shoot at Barksdale. We need to kill him. I step back out and try to get a clean shot at Barksdale, but the angle is all wrong. I try my best to get off a shot, but it's not anywhere near him. Barksdale doesn't even flinch. I'll have to help Amy from here. I then remember the contents of the barrels. One color has highly flammable fuel. The other contains liquid nitrogen. I'm no scientist, but I'm pretty sure liquid nitrogen is mostly harmless unless you have no direct contact. If one of those barrels gets shot and the liquid nitrogen spills out, I'm fairly positive it will simply evaporate. That could create a cover of sorts for Amy, like a smoke cloud. Yeah, but which of the barrels holds liquid nitrogen? Strickland told us, but I can't remember. I have to remember quickly, or Barksdale's going to get careless with his shooting and we could all die. Shoot the gray barrels, shoot the yellow barrels. Gray barrels. I think that's the fuel that's liquid nitrogen. Gray. Pretty sure the gray barrel has liquid nitrogen in them. Regardless, I don't have time to second guess myself. I take aim and pull the trigger, hitting a gray barrel 20 feet or so away from Amy. There's nothing at first, and just as I wonder if I've hit an empty barrel, there's a deafening explosion of fire. Fuck! It knocks me to my ass and I can hear Amy screaming. As flaming debris rain over me, my heart sinks. It wasn't the gray barrels. I just shot a barrel full of fuel. I stand up feeling that the hairs on my arms have been singed slightly from the fire. I can see Amy out there. Her leg is on fire and she's doing everything she can to roll it out, but everywhere she rolls, there's more fire. Fuck! Just as I'm about to run to help her, I hear a gunshot. I freeze for a moment, assuming the shot is meant for me. But as I watch a large red hole in Amy blooms in Amy's back as she topples over, I glance up to see Barksdale with his gun, proud of his skill. Fuck! Sorrow and fury boil up within me, but I have to keep it under control. I have to get to that switch. With Amy gone, there's nothing else for me to do here. I turn away from the hangar and head to the elevator. My nerves are drenched in fear and adrenaline. When I reach out to press the call button on the elevator, it feels like I'm watching someone else do it. I step inside and the doors close. The motors on the elevator sound like dying dogs. As the elevator slides down, the light from the flames give way to complete blackness. And now I'm on my own. Fuck! Damn it, I got them both killed! Son of a bitch, so it was the yellow barrel. I lose track of how long the elevator... That's a dick move on the developer's part, because they're tricking you. It would make more sense for the fuel to be in the yellow barrel, and the liquid nitrogen to be in the gray barrel, so that's how they're fucking with you. I lose track of how long the elevator descends. It's hard to tell due to the lack of lighting, but it must go on another 500 feet underground. The elevator comes to a stop with a shuddering clang, and I waste no time exiting. A tunnel stretches out with sparse white bulbs lighting the way. Most of the wall is made of raw earth and rock, but there are boards and concrete slathered in areas used to reinforce the tunnel. I see a warning sign posted on the wall. I want to read it, but there's not much time. Head through the fucking tunnel. There's no time. That switches down the tunnel and has to be flipped no matter what. Suddenly, I feel the effects of the painkillers again. My head feels like a balloon and my balance is off kilter. I look up, and when I see that the tunnel ceiling is less than 6 inches over my head, claustrophobia freezes me for a moment. Still, it's much better than facing the monsters above. Yeah, human and non. I wondered then, walking through the darkness where they came from. Still, is the portal still open? The bulbs do little to thwart the darkness. I hold the gun in one hand and reach out to touch the wall with the other. Feeling the wall under my palm anchors me to reality, to sanity. I'm not in some boundless abyss, but still in the real world. For a little while longer, at least. I recognize that I am marching to my end. As much as I wish I weren't, it's not surprising. From the moment I saw that what those creatures could do to time and space, at least a part of me knew that death was inevitable. Before I have time to wonder whether my family will really miss me, I see a light ahead. It's nothing more than a speck of blue light, but in the darkness of the tunnel, it's like a lighthouse on a stormy sea. I slog forward, my eyes straining to focus on that little light ahead. From somewhere ahead, I start to hear something that sounds like water. It is trickling lightly, like a leaky faucet, and behind that there is something that sounds like wind, a light breeze through an open field, and a voice. Anywhere else the sounds would have been pleasant, but to hear in the blackness of the tunnel they're menacing. Hello? My voice doesn't echo like it should in this small space. This weirds me out even more than the lack of response. I cock my head trying to concentrate, and then I realize that I can see the tunnel walls now. This is odd, as I wasn't able to see them a few seconds ago. This is different from the blue light at the end of the tunnel. It's then that I see the slight shimmering in the air. It looks like a foggy mirror steamed over after a shower. And it's moving, dancing in the air like some abstract firefly. It's not menacing like the creature, so that threat is null. It's peaceful, serene. I watch as the shimmer branches out and becomes 2, then 3, then 4. They snake out in different directions, tracing the tunnel walls. Are these shimmers the doors to another dimension that Strickland was talking about? Suddenly, I'm surrounded by light above and below me and realize there's no avoiding it. The question is, how am I going through? Going head first. I guess... yeah, head first. I stick my head through and feel a tingling sensation, almost pleasant. I reach out slowly, my hand stretching out to one of those shimmers, or of what I can only assume are some kind of light. They're hypnotizing, so much so that I don't realize that the tunnel walls are vanishing. I feel something like wind and a brief electrical pulse pass through me as the lights take me. There is then a very gentle pushing sensation, and I somehow know that I'm being expelled. I have passed through something, maybe the lights, maybe the tunnel walls, I don't know. But the shimmering lights fade a bit, still dancing in the air but no longer large and branching out. As my eyes adjust, I see right away that I am no longer standing in that dark tunnel far beneath the hangar. I have no idea where I am, I'm just somewhere else, and I'm terrified. Oh, shit. The ground I land on looks like hot coals. There are dips and many cliffs breaking the landscape ahead of me. There's a wash of orange and blue overhead in the sky that makes no sense. It is both beautiful and terrifying at once. A scattering of stars hang overhead, and they all seem to be breathing, pulsing with a gentle energy as if alive. I can't tell if there are clouds in the sky because everything about it, from the colors to the trembling horizon line, seems to be amorphous. Everything is knitted together, living. I stare a moment longer and can swear I feel the sky breathing. Far off to my right, I see what looks to be a plume of fire, small yet bright, with no source of fuel. It looks as if the ground itself is creating the flame. Several more of these flames dot the landscape further out. The air is thick and muggy. Then I realize something horrible. I don't know if what I'm breathing here resembles air at all. In a place like this, one of impossible beauty but also very stark horror, my mind doesn't know what to do. A wave of nausea comes over me and I think I might be sick. I'm not sure if it would be better to fight it or to give in. The white light that brought me here is nowhere to be found. Is anyone else even here? Is there any way to escape? Yell out for help. I take a deep breath of whatever otherworldly gas is filling this place and belt out as loud as I can. Hello! Hello! Is anyone else here? Anyone? I hear a voice in response. It is faint, distant. I turn and hear it coming out of one of those massive crevices along the ground. Inside that crack, about 10 feet down, a very pale man lies on a ledge. He is human but looks close to death. He is in the center of a large pool of blood, and his left leg has been twisted and torn in an unnatural way. As I walk to the ledge, he looks up and sees me. Help me, please, the man says. His eyes are wide, although everything about him speaks of weakness. He is close to death or insanity, or both. Who are you? I'm Dr. Kana. Oh, fuck, that's the guy that never came back. Dr. Kana. He strains to get out. I work in the facility. Please, help. I want to know more, but it seems cruel to steal what looks like his last breath just to answer my questions. I'd love to respond, but I don't know where the hell I am or how to get back home. The light, he says. It's a doorway. It might take you back to the facility. Where did it go? They come and go. They'll be back. Now please, help me. I desperately want to help, but there's no way I can reach him. His ledge is too far away, above the pools of fire. I don't think I can get to you, I say. That's not what I mean, he replies. His eyes are on the shotgun that I almost forget I am still holding. I realize what he wants and I shake my head. I can't, I say. I can't do that. Please, he pleads. Those things, they have the others that came here with me. I got dropped along the way. They'll be back and they'll kill me. That, he says again, indicating the gun will be quicker, less painful. I can't, I repeat. Please, look at my damn leg. I'm dead anyway. I'm about to refuse him again when I hear an all too familiar static sound out from another crevice behind him. Fuck, those creatures are here. I hear another of those shrill voices and then watch as one of the monsters materializes up out of the neighboring crevice. Two more come out after it, and then a third, then 5, then 10. Soon I lose count as what was just a few turns into a flood. And I suddenly understand the man's reasoning. A bullet would be a mercy. I check the gun and see that I only have 1 round left. I can use it on this guy, but I may need it for myself later. From behind me, the man pleads again. My God, he says, a waver of lunacy in his voice. Please! Shoot him, put him out of his misery. He chose to shoot the man. I look back to the man and wince. I know it's the right thing to do, but my finger resists. With a roar of disgust, I level the gun towards his head, turn my eyes away, and then pull the trigger. Your aim is true. The man crumples lifelessly to the ground. And that's when I see the shimmers wavering to my right in the direction I originally came from. I look back to the monsters and see that they have now noticed me. Some of them begin floating up the walls of the crevice. There are less than 10 feet separating us. The shimmers of white light are within arm's reach, its movements reminding me of a fish in an aquarium. I reach out and feel myself accepted by them again. I feel the sensation of wind and wait for the feeling of being pushed out back to the tunnel in the facility. But it doesn't come this time. This time I feel something else. I feel a tugging sensation that seems to want to drag me in all directions at once. As the world goes dark, I realize that I am somewhere else, and it is not the darkness of a tunnel. This is the darkness of a total void. Fuck! We're in the void. That's bad. Honey. Why do I hear boss music? I think Dennis is fake. This is fake. Been muted to let you read, but the story is interesting and dark. Oh yeah, it's fascinating. There is darkness around me, everywhere. Nothingness. I feel nothing under my feet, nothing to my sides. I can't touch or sense anything at all. I don't even know which way is up or down. It's as though I am all that exists. You can just go much. Late response much? I'm just now looking back at OBS to read the chat. Here, I'll turn on the transparent chat. Sorry, Thomas. There we go. Now I'll be able to see your comments. As I remain there, I just hear silence, not even the sound of my heartbeat. The blackness is so deep that I feel I can't distinguish my thoughts and what is real. I hear screaming, but I can't tell if it's someone else or my mind screaming to fill this void. I'll try to move. Because if there's I try to kick and move my arms, it's not working. But it's not clear in what way it's not working. Are my limbs not moving or have they gone numb? It's impossible to tell. My body's just become absent of all sensation. So he's in like a sensory deprivation chamber. I assume this is the place that Strickland referred to, the place between dimensions. This darkness could consume me if it wanted to. I tried to will myself out of it, to have those shimmering lights spit me out, but it isn't happening. At this point, my mind starts to hallucinate, or at least I think it does. Are they visions? My mind playing tricks on me? I can't tell. All I can do is watch. I see the logging site and Tony's leg, still pinned under the dozer. I feel a pang of regret that I had left him in such a state. I see myself talking to Dennis and he looks distraught as I tell him that Tony is gone. Then the scene rearranges itself and I'm standing between Dennis and Marcus's gun. It changes again and the shape of Marcus's body appears in front of me, half devoured, a bullet through his head. In my mind, I'm sobbing as I watch Dennis get torn apart by those monsters all over again, and I just stood by and watched. And I try to let out a scream as I watch myself shoot the wrong barrel, blowing Amy to hell, but there's still no sound. And just when I feel like I can't take any more of this, I see the man in that strange world begging for death. I watch as I take his life just before those beasts reach him. All these things are flooding my mind, and it feels like my brain is vomiting. Yet in the midst of it all, I see what's really important, the switch. In mind's eye, I see that glowing light in the tunnel, the one far ahead, small and distant. Try to focus on it. Focus my mind on the tunnel and the image of that flickering light. With a mental effort so strong that it is nearly a physical motion, I make myself envision that little light in the tunnel as if it were right there in front of me. With that, I feel the wind again, a light breeze that seems to come from everywhere. And then with the relief that I can only imagine feels like death, I move forward. Oh, thank God we're back in the fucking tunnel. Oh my God. I'm ejected from the void and I'm suddenly standing in the tunnel again. I let out a wail of triumph that turns into a bout of weeping. Nice choice, find that switch. Agreed, thank you. The weeping only intensifies when I see that light up ahead, a flickering blue light. Somewhere behind me I hear a crackling noise. The monsters from the other place, have they come through? But not at the same time. They've gone down the tunnel the other way in search of me. And not because of my crying, they knew I was here. I feel like I can listen to get a better read on where they are, or I could just make a break for it. Dude, just fucking run to the blue light. You pull that switch, you're all dead anyway. I don't even bother looking back, there's no time. Instead, I run with all of my might straight ahead, my focus on that little blue light ahead of me. As I run, I see a different light, a white one, flickering in my peripheral vision. It's another one of those shimmers that go to the other worlds. It seems that they are appearing and disappearing with more frequency now. Strickland was right, these things could reach the surface soon, unleashing more monsters. This thought makes me refocus on the blue light, the man-made light, the switch. The blue light gets closer as it does, and as it does, I can make out a square shape around it. This has to be it. The familiar static scream of the monsters is much closer now. I have to be quick. I grip the gun tightly, regretting my decision to use the last bullet on the man in the other world. Looks like all I'll be using for this is as a bludgeon. I run ahead in the darkness, my eyes locked on the switch that I assume is going to kill not only the creatures but myself as well. As I approach, I see the lever. It's covered by a glass box that I will need to break. The blue light is directly beneath this, highlighting a series of tubes and wires that snake into the inner workings of the device. In the middle is blackness, not like a darkly colored part of the machine, but just a hole in reality. It looks like some sort of illusion. All the while, I can hear the static of the creature coming up dangerously close now. I have no idea how much time I have. Turn and defend. Smash the fucking glass, dude. Just pull the lever. I draw back at the stock of the gun and smash the glass box that houses the lever. The glass shattering is like music to my ears. I reach out for the lever, my hand grasping it. Without warning, I feel immense pain course through my body. It feels like fire racing down my back, causing me to fall to one knee in agony. There's only one of them that I can see. It blasts horrible static noise at me as I ready my gun. With no bullets left, I get ready to use it as a club. I try to strike. The monster bats the gun away, warping it into an S shape. It then follows up by swinging its appendage at me. The sting of its touch forces me back against the side of the cavern, my face striking the wall hard. My jaw crunches and I feel sharp pain encompass my head. Then the creature is upon me again. Its tentacles melt into me and I scream. I can't help it. I sound like a wild animal. Oof. I can try to keep fending them off, or I can go for broke and just focus on the lever. The creatures be damned. Focus on the fucking lever. Spring for the lever. I put all of my strength into my legs. The moment the monster in front of me draws back its eel-like arms to grab me, I pivot backwards. My back strikes the machine, sending agony rocketing through my body. I'm so thankful I broke the glass before this moment, before the coming violence. I stretch out, grab the lever. With one last desperate scream that shreds my voice, I jam it down. The tunnel is suddenly filled with a flash of intense darkness. It expands from the switch, swallowing the matter around it. At first, I'm sure this is the end of me. I expect the darkness to consume me, followed by death. But then, another shimmer of dancing white light appears next to me. There are more of those streams of light, rips in space like the ones that previously sent me to that other ungodly world, and the void. With nothing else to do but die, I try to escape into the shimmer. But when that stream of light envelops me, the expanding darkness of the switch is gone, and I feel a huge push. Ooh, pretty. My body feels stretched, collapsing, like I'm falling in all directions at once. The world goes white, and then there are the pinpoints of stars everywhere. One of them breezes directly by my right, and I see something that looks like a spiral galaxy distorted in its folds. To my right, I see an endless stretch of stars and gas clouds forming some galactic architecture. But beyond the immeasurable beauty, I notice something. I am seeing the same star patterns over and over. They are repeating like reflections in an endless mirror. These are different versions of the same galaxies, the same realities? To my left, I see a calm blue world and can barely make out trees, familiar Kentucky trees that I've been around for the last few weeks. To my right, I see a copy, an orange world, and there are trees there as well, but something is strange, disturbing. As I zoom by, I'm not sure how much control I have in this unusual place, but if I can direct myself, it's worth trying. Let's go back to Earth. The blue world. You decide to head to the blue world. I try to focus my mind on heading towards the blue world, not knowing what to expect. My breath escapes me for a moment. Everything is dark and peaceful and nothing hurts. Did we do it? We're back. With breath back inside my body, I gasp and open my eyes. I'm back. Back at the logging site. How? I'm not sure. Did the shimmers react with the implosion of the switch? Some other accident? I have no idea. I sit up right away and become instantly dizzy. I wonder if I am somehow back in time before we found the facility. But what happens next makes me realize that can't be true. There's a tremor in the ground. Somewhere off in the distance, I hear a metallic groan. The buried facility is being ripped apart under the ground by the activation of the switch. I hear trees splintering and popping all around me, and then there's the muffled sound of an implosion. A huge group of trees is falling, followed by a massive plume of dust and debris. There's no way Barksdale survived. Good riddance. I look in the direction where I found Dennis sitting before this all started. It's then that I remember that he's gone, along with Amy. I'm still not sure how I got out of that facility alive. That, I suppose, is the most important thing. Alone, but alive. It's then that I look up and notice the sky. Oh, it's blue. Okay. I thought it was going to tell me it's the same as that other world. That'd be creepy. The sky is beautiful and familiar, unobstructed by the trees that had been standing several minutes ago. I take my trusty hard hat off and my head and exhale, letting my body relax. It's finally over. I'm not sure how long it will take me to get back to some semblance of life. But I know one thing for sure. Any day above ground is going to be a good day. The end. Okay, so did we get the good ending? I don't fucking know. Because Amy and Dennis are both dead. They're gone. Amy burned to death because we shot the wrong fucking barrel, and Dennis got torn apart by those creatures. Tough it out. You and 36% of players decided to take the painkillers. Who survives? You and 38% of players didn't shoot the right barrel, resulting in Amy's death. Congrats on beating the game. Thank you. Mercy. You and 30% of players mercifully killed the man who asked for death. Going home. You and 83% of players headed towards the blue world and went home. And there you go, guys. That is the entire game. Oh, no. If you'd like to test out the beta versions of our upcoming games, sign up for it. No, thank you, but I do appreciate it. That was really cool. Alrighty. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. If you enjoyed this series, hit that follow button on Twitch and subscribe. And if you watch this on my YouTube channel where I archive my streams, hit that subscribe button and that little bell to be notified when I upload. But yeah. Love you, appreciate you, and as always, stay strong no matter what. Bye, guys. Today is Thursday, so tomorrow we're probably going to do some more Spyro. But yeah, bye, guys. Oh.